Okay, so what about landmines?
What? If you want to go on field work with Cambridge University, I have been in Cambodia where there are still active.
Are there landmines in the villages?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What I really want to talk about on this trek is the fact that I've made it to 30 without becoming a millionaire. That was actually one of my goals, and I'm not there. I think when you're a 20-year-old, even a 25-year-old entrepreneur, there's like the Forbes 30 under 30s. It's something that we all kind of think about, at least a little bit, or at least if we're honest with each other. But I didn't make it. I will never make that list. And despite the fact that I know I will never make that list because now I'm too old, I do have a lot of entrepreneurial experience and a lot of lessons. In this video, I want to talk about the ones that are most important to me, that I think are going to take me the furthest throughout my 30s. Hey, my name is Christian, but you can call me Lil. Okay, so I turned 30 years old yesterday, which means that my mom gave my sister and I a gift. We're going on a scavenger hunt. We're looking for London filming locations. She sent us a screenshot with a scene from each one of a bunch of different movies that we watched as a family, all filmed in London, and it's our job to go find them and take a sibling photo in each one.
Come on, guys, let's go find it.
I forgot to mention that we get 50 pounds for every single one of the scenes that we correctly identify and take a photo at. That's not sexy enough.
Correctly.
If we don't get it correctly, we get eaten by sharks. Okay, the first one is that entrepreneurship has no rules. I'm gonna go through a couple of subsections that walk you through some of the rules that people think entrepreneurship has, even though it doesn't. But first, we found our first location. Filmed at Waterloo train station.
Tie your shoe right now, tie your shoe.
Something like that. Look off in the distance.
That's not how it goes.
Go a little bit lower and point up. Yeah, there we go.
Wow.
Nailed it?
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
I'm Matt Damon.
She's Matt Damon.
So one rule that people think seems to be universal to entrepreneurship: you only work on one thing at a time. And I have to say that might work for a lot of people. The rules don't apply the same to everybody. And I've gone over this in one of my past videos as well. I've worked on dozens of businesses and most of them have failed. In fact, 9 out of 10 businesses will fail. The idea of taking 2 years, 3 years, or longer to focus on one business at a time, one could argue is actually just a huge waste of time. For most entrepreneurs, most solo entrepreneurs, people who work alone, you're gonna be handling everything from the design to the conception, to the website, to the marketing. You're not a specialist in those areas. And yeah, you can learn those things. It's better if you can focus on the things that you're best at. And if you can focus on the things that you're best at, outsource other things, generally speaking, you'll be better off. And if you can put a lot of attention at the things that you're best at into multiple businesses and let other people focus on the things that they're best at in the same businesses, you can spread your resources across lots of different areas. And if one succeeds, that's all you need. I'm not trying to say that multiple businesses is best for everyone either. What I'm trying to say is that everybody's different. And this rule is not for everybody. Okay, there's Big Ben.
There's Big Ben.
Big Ben has showed up in a lot of different movies, but the screenshot that our mom gave us,
It's time.
okay, on a scale of 1 to 7, how much do I look like Jason Bourne?
Oh, you don't write scaled questions like that. That's rubbish quantitative data.
No.
Yeah, it is.
I've been working on this. I know the answer. Quiz, pop quiz.
You don't look like Jason Bourne.
Okay, well the correct answer was 7, but okay, go on.
No, you have a beard. You clearly are. You don't look
He
the
can.
same.
I'm sure he can grow a beard. It's not the only thing that matters.
Can he?
I don't know, but
I
he
haven't seen
probably
it.
can. So this is a filming location of sometime in like Nazi Germany. They're pretending it's like a Nazi thing. It does say strictly no entry right there. How do we get in?
Do it, unfortunately. If you put through an email to our, if I give you an email address now.
All right, well I guess we got our answer, huh?
Yeah, we did, didn't we?
We were told no, we can't go in there, and this isn't the right location at the same time. Did you say it's a success?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we're going to the correct location, but he's warned us that they will also say no. So I said trespassing is not a crime in England. It's a civil matter. That's what they always say. It's like super law.
Yeah.
Oh, press bell for access.
Yeah, I wish if I could show you, but not that.
Auntie Riz, how do you think
Yeah.
this has gone so far?
I think it's gone well.
Do you like the guy, the security guy?
Oh yeah, he was nice.
He was nice?
Yeah, he was
He
a
didn't
good
let
guy.
us in though. You don't want to like smash his brains in or anything?
No. Yeah, I think he was trying not to get fired.
I won't accept that answer.
Okay. I like pub atmosphere.
Yeah.
But I like that you can just get a drink and you can hang out forever. Okay, think about, for one, I think of the history.
Yeah.
So say it's all dark and cold in really old England. It's just a small and cozy, warm feeling. My friends and I yesterday, we hung out at a place. We got some burgers, we got some drinks, and then we hung out for like hours afterwards, and it just felt like there was no pressure to leave. So it feels more of like a social spot where you can spend time with people.
Okay, so something else that I hear all the time is having to be prepared, like really prepared, like like a business plan for 5 years prepared. I'm not saying that you shouldn't prepare. You can't possibly know all of the variables. No matter how much you prepare, things unexpected will always happen. And tons of people will prepare and prepare some more until it's like the end of time. They'll just continue on preparing forever. What it really takes to actually make any business successful is taking that first step. For example, my wife and I started this artificial flower business a long time ago. And I use that term very loosely because we never really got past those very beginning stages. Long story short, on paper, everything looked good. Our profit margins look good, our projections look good. We put down an initial investment of about 250 pounds. We were almost ready to spend about 5,000 pounds on the next batch of product. Without going into all the little details, the way that people actually bought our product, if we were going to spend that 5,000 pounds on that batch of product, we essentially needed to be ready to spend another 20,000. Ultimately, we were never prepared to make that kind of commitment, but the lesson here, there was no way that we could have possibly known that that kind of commitment was required before we took that initial step, that 250 pound step. Most people will never take that step, and so they'll never really know if their business could have been successful or not. Maybe it's never going to be successful. Again, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work. But what's going to happen is it might live in your brain for years if you never take that first step.
Never take that first step.
When you take that first step, there will always be things that you didn't know about. Leading from that, one of the best skills that I think I've acquired over the last 10 years of entrepreneurship is knowing when to say, I quit. And the more you invest, the harder it is to do. So just like in this story demonstrated, what I've learned over the last decade of entrepreneurship and what I'm gonna bring into my 30s is knowing when to quit. No, I don't like that word. I don't like quit. It's knowing when the investment isn't worth it anymore. And I think that that's what we had with this flower business. You invest a certain amount into it, and then you realize what your investment is going to be going forward. And then you say, is this worth it? Is it not worth it? And for us, for the time commitment, for the money commitment, we were prepared just enough. So prepare for success, but also expect that eventually, most of the time, the investment's not going to be worth it. And this right here is a super cool filming spot from
Quick building!
Okay, you can't see it right now, but back there is St. Paul's Cathedral, and this right here is where this scene from there's St. Paul's Cathedral. I'll darken it up a bit. My next tip for entrepreneurs: most podcasters, YouTubers, and generally business gurus are full of shit. This kind of comes in 2 parts, and I'm gonna break it down a little bit. The first thing is you should not always listen to, I'm gonna say us, because I'm one of those people. I try to be as honest with you as I possibly can. However, when I share my story with you, when I talk about what I do, what's been successful, what hasn't been successful, I try to be as honest as I possibly can, but I'm only giving you at most 50% of the story. I have to package it in such a way that people understand. I have to package it in such a way that's entertaining. And so what I do, in the way that I do it, doesn't always work for you. It should be a good start, but you always have to adapt it to your own circumstances, your own story. I typically choose not to listen to podcasts, YouTubers, and people like that. I do seek out specific advice, and I go on Google and I go on YouTube videos and stuff like that, searching for specific advice on how to do X. However, I'm not really somebody who sits on a podcast, sits on a YouTube channel, and listens to everything that somebody has to say. The second part of that is that a lot of us lie to you. And I'm not saying myself, I try to be as honest as I possibly can. Like I just said, we're financially incentivized to exaggerate things, to even lie flat out. I mean, most of us are pushing a business. Me, for example, I have a virtual assistant business. I always try to present 2 sides of the story, and I always try to give you alternatives to my own business. However, you have to know that I'm financially incentivized to encourage you to go with me, to do business with me. And so that's a huge part of the reason that I do this YouTube channel in the first place. You have to understand that anybody you're watching has a financial incentive to convince you of something one way or the other. Most of the time. Like, I'm gonna say 99% of the time. That's not to say that everything they say is wrong. That's not to say that everything they say is dishonest. That's just to say that there is a financial incentive for most of them to say something. There are some people like me where the business is just a very natural byproduct of what I do, of what I talk about. But there are a lot more people who are financially incentivized to spew just total and utter like, you know, these coaches who say that they're making 7-8 figures or whatever they exaggerate.
We literally have a 62-year-old woman go from 0 to 160 grand in 90 days, so check.
Amazing!
Exactly how I would go from 0 to $1 million over the next, essentially become a scout for a venture capital firm, actually getting a percentage of carried interest for sending them deal flow. I've never heard someone on YouTube talk about this.
I would say that like 99% of the podcasts and YouTube channels and whatever that I listen to, I'm just constantly poking holes in everything that they're saying. That's like, it's like a fun sport for me, but it does make the information less reliable, it makes it less entertaining, and all around, I mean, it's often even just blatant lies. At 20 years old, I was a lot more likely to just sit and listen to podcasts, sit and listen to audiobooks, sit and listen to whatever anybody I thought could teach me, whatever, but I realized that there's so many people out there that are so full of that I just don't do that anymore. What I do is I experiment, I write things down, I document, and I move on. And I try to improve every single time I do a new business, I improve on the last one. All right, so right here was a filming location for London Gets Destroyed. Spoiler alert.
All right, back to the car.
I'm headed out to everybody's favorite spot in London, Sherlock Holmes Flat. Okay, you ready?
My apartment's 221A. Going to my house. Why? The weirdo downstairs? He's like loud. He's got a violin. Like people come to his door for like to get advice on things. Sometimes I've seen him in the hallway and they're usually like really perplexed. Maybe he's a counselor.
We found him, Mr. Holmes. He is the great detective. Okay, so the next tip, automate everything you can and outsource everything you can't. I think my 20-year-old self and even my 25-year-old self was kind of obsessed with figuring out how to do everything myself. And to an extent, that's part of discovering what you're good at and becoming a good entrepreneur. But at the same time, there are only so many hours in the day. And if you want to move fast, if you want to move far, you want to get ahead, you have to set yourself apart. You have to do more than everyone else, and you have to do it faster. More on that in a second. We just ended up at our next location. Okay, this is one of the most famous places in London because it's where real life Sherlock Holmes lived back in what year? 1809? Yep. Can I quote you on that?
For sure. Yeah, definitely. Emerus Osmo, Sherlock lived here, 1809.
Sherlock, please.
Oh, this is a prime stock. Must be expensive.
Mrs. Hudson, the landlady, she's giving me a special deal.
So first I'm going to talk about automation, but the truth is that if I were to say everything that I know and everything that I use to automate everything, this video would be like 12 hours long. So I'm not going to go there. But what I can say is you can use tools like Zapier to connect services like any service to any other service. Use project management software like Trello or ClickUp or Monday, stuff like that. It just makes breaking things down task by task, every little thing, just makes everything so much easier. Pretty much anything that you do repetitively. I even automate content creation and blog article writing can be automated. Just do a little bit of research. Find out if it can be automated. Take the time to explore the automation. You take a little time to explore the automation of things that you do all the time. Even if it can't be automated, the research into it, things that you don't even think can be automated, oftentimes can. And everything that can't be automated, outsource. And I know this is a lot coming from somebody who runs a remote worker agency. For those of you who've seen my videos before, you know that I run a remote worker agency called Little Assistants, where you can outsource pretty much any job for as little as $4 an hour. I'll leave a link in the description below. But even if you don't want to go with me, you don't want to go with us, freelancer, Upwork, you're going to find lots of people who can do lots of different jobs even better than you can. Most of the time, you're going to find somebody who can do it better than you can for cheaper. You have to think about your opportunity cost. How much can you make an hour? Even if you're doing some menial job like working at McDonald's or doing DoorDash or something like that, and you can make $15, $20 an hour instead of paying somebody $4 an hour, it only makes sense to outsource everything. Sorry, I take that back. There are certainly things that only you can do, or certainly things that you can do best, and those things you shouldn't be outsourced. I mean, if you're the face of your own business, then it makes sense that you should be meeting with customers and you should be the face. But for every business, everything that you do, there are always jobs that you can outsource. I think going back to when I was 20 years old, I was so focused on doing everything myself, and I had that same mindset that they teach you in entrepreneurship school or whatever. Don't outsource until you can't handle the work yourself, and and make sure that you're doing the work so that you know what it actually takes. Those people really don't take into consideration things like opportunity costs. How much could you be making with that same time right now? How much further could you get? Because I could work at DoorDash, make $35 an hour, and hire 7 people for the same amount of time commitment. Even if they can't do as well as I can, they can certainly do something really well. So that's it. If I had to tell 20-year-old me what to do differently, 20-year-old entrepreneur me, automate as much as you can, outsource everything you can. Okay, don't leave yet, because I do have a frequently asked questions coming up after this, but we are at our last location, which is apparently the restaurant where Watson told Sherlock he was alive. I don't really follow.
More than you?
No, sorry, not now.
He gazed from a crowd of strangers. Suddenly, when he's aware of staring into the face of an old friend.
No, look, seriously, could you just...
Interesting thing, a tuxedo. There's distinction to friends and anonymity to waiters.
John?
It's like a really nice toilet. What am I doing in my house? This is like the nicest toilet I've ever been in. I clearly don't belong here. Yeah, sure. Okay, all right, sure. Oh, we just came from down there, but yeah. So small correction. It's where they filmed the establishing shot for that scene, but the interior of the restaurant actually is 200 miles away. So we are not eating there out of principle. And also they wouldn't let us. Instead, we're gonna go to a place called the Sherlock Holmes Pub near Trafalgar Square. And I'm so excited because that definitely sounds like not a tourist trap.
You're the one who did it.
Yeah, but you're the one who won't come. Oh wow, it's scary. The Sherlock Holmes. Okay, turns out Sherlock Holmes lived in 1894, not in 1809. What, 49? Check again. 94. It's probably just loads of cocaine, and he just labels it different. Isn't he a druggie? Both for me. Oh, so unfortunately, Chipotle gave us free food.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Thanks, Chipotle.
Thanks, Chipotle. You don't deserve that shout out, by the way. It was the nice dude at the front. Okay, I'm serious. How do you feel about today?
Yeah, just like Matt Damon. The day was just like Matt Damon.
Okay, Q&As. I've got some Q&As that are related to this topic. How long does it take to create a successful business? No, there's no right or wrong answer. Some people are successful literally overnight, and some people take decades. It just, everybody goes at their own pace. There's really no right answer. Next one, sorry. Next Q. What are the major misconceptions about business in general? I do think that one of the biggest misconceptions about business that I haven't already talked about it. I think that a lot of people think that the most qualified business owners are the ones who are successful, but they're really not. The people who are able to network the best, the people that are able to sell themselves the best, the people that are able to brand themselves and present themselves the best, those are the people who typically are the most successful. I can't say that that's universally true, but generally speaking, I think that that's true. I have to say that as far as like networking goes, I'm probably not the best networker in the world, but I do think that I'm pretty good at presenting myself well, and I do think that I'm reasonably good at branding and content creation and that sort of thing, and those things can take you a long way. I will probably be more successful with X business than a lot of people who are really competent at their jobs, but don't really know how to present themselves in the right way, if that makes sense. Don't know how to create content around the right subject and convince people that they know what they're saying, what they're doing. What sort of education or diploma, what is this? Would help with business? There's obviously business degrees. I don't even have a degree, and I don't think that it really helps you that much. One thing that I was actually just talking about with my wife a couple of days ago is the fact that I dropped out of school with only like 12 credits left. I think that college and school in general has like diminishing returns. When you first start it, there's a lot to learn. Not just in your subject, but in life in general and how to study. And I think that how to study really does help with college, with high school, with whatever it is. However, it can only go so far. And so having a degree, for me, doesn't really do anything. And so for me, when I dropped out right before I got my degree, the fact that I don't have one really doesn't mean anything because I effectively did get the whole education. I think that having a business degree can get you a good business job, but I don't think it actually helps you build a business. It doesn't really teach you how things work in the real world, if that makes sense. Do you want to add anything to that?
I could, but I mean, you're the entrepreneur. I know. I'm like I'm the one with a lot of student debt and no job. So
Well, I've got student debt too. So
yeah, okay. Also no job.
I think what colleges do provide is like what you're talking about, networking opportunities though. And then
okay, you can say that about Harvard, but come on.
Yeah.
I went to
So
SMU.
I was gonna say like, you don't think SOU has the same?
No.
Really?
No, not even remotely.
Because Harvard and Cambridge have a lot of networking events, and I find that useful. But I guess maybe
it doesn't.
Okay, so give that back to you. Verdict here is that a Harvard degree has some value, but other ones might not. Do you think there's a such thing as an overnight success? Yes and no. There are obviously people who are successful overnight, but almost without fail. And so I have to say that like my time in business and whatever success that I've had has always been built on tons of failure. So one that looks like it really took off only took off because of all of the things that I learned through all of the failures. So I can't tell you for sure. Maybe there has been somebody who's an overnight success without any failure behind it, but it's super rare if it happens at all. I've got a list of questions here, but I'm just gonna pick the last one here. What sacrifices are you not willing to make for success or for money, something like that? I don't know. The entire purpose of being a success for me, it's different for everybody, but for me, it's more time with my family. That's the thing that I value the most. I think that's how I measure success also. I couldn't care less about becoming fabulously wealthy if it meant that I gave up time with my family, because that's ultimately how I measure success. And so that's something I would not sacrifice.
Sad.
Okay, it's super late now and I'm going back to Central tomorrow, so see you later.